But anyway, good morning. It is a slow morning. We doing okay for a while. That means that we're not hitting like enough to get us in the algorithm, but that's okay. People will trickle in. Woo. Hey Rogue. Good morning. Look at this cool thing. I got this it's really hard to see here. One of my buddies got this for my birthday. I'm happy. I'm super happy. Meat making stud. You must be looking in a mirror. I don't know if I can pour out. Oh yeah. All right, we're okay. It is we were doing okay, and then I had some YouTube problems, so I reset YouTube. It appears to be working now, but there's nobody there. It's a Sunday morning. Did you see the orange mead? I think you saw it. I had a lot of fun making this, and I'm gonna tell you, simplistic, delicious. The smell threw me off a little bit in the beginning. I think I explained that in the actual tasting video. And it's not for any bad reason. It's just like when you smell like a really strong citrus like smell, right? You associate it with I'm gonna clean the floor. You just do, right? It's like a mental thing. So I'm like, it smells like floor cleaner. It doesn't taste like floor cleaner. It's delicious. It tastes like an orange, like a really dry orange, like wine. I love it. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of batches that I have that have been ready to bottle that, like, whatever. It just happens. Yeah. I don't know what it is with that smell. I guess it's because it's just an association, but I was hoping Scott would jump on this morning. Dennis texted him yesterday and kind of like, hey, still waiting for that pizza review. And he didn't answer. He's ignoring us on purpose. But we'll get him. We'll get him to do it. Hello, welcome to the Old Gods Mead. If you're just jumping in, I make mead. Every single Saturday come out with a brand new batch of mead. And it is always brand new. I don't replicate recipes, and I don't miss Saturdays. Yesterday, I made this orange mead in honor of Leif Erikson. Leif Erikson Day is this Wednesday. I had a lot of fun making it. The actual instructions are in the actual video, and the recipe is absolutely free in the description, so you can make your own. This coming Saturday, you're the first to know, because my agenda doesn't come out till tomorrow. Another Norse mead. I'm making another Norse mead off of a Norse god or goddess. I'm going to spend this week studying, learning everything I can, and then showing you a badass mead this coming Saturday. I hope. We'll see. We will see. No, I'm really proud of it already. I hope everybody loves it as much as I've loved making it. The YouTube comments, I swear, they're unique. They're unique. They're unique. If you don't know what mead is, though, oldest alcoholic beverage in the world, independently discovered by many different countries and cultures. I'm going to go through the whole commercial, so if you've heard it already, I apologize. The oldest evidence of mead was actually just uncovered this year. It came out in an article May 1st from some archaeologists. Was discovered in ancient southern Africa, over 20,000 years old. So fermented honey, over 20,000 years old. They've also found some evidence in ancient China, about 10,000 years old. There's evidence in ancient Central America, and of course Northern Europe, where the Vikings traded it, made it super famous, did it better than everybody else. That last part's subjective, but the rest of it's true. But what that means is, regardless of who you are or where you're from, somewhere down your lineage, your ancestors drank mead. It's inevitable. They did. But that's something we have in common. All you have to do is drink it now. You'll be as awesome as your ancestors. And we will have something in common today, live. So, Make yourself some mead or buy yourself some mead. Odin Skull. Yeah, I don't have any Odin Skull with me. But what you're referencing is this company called Dankst. They are out of Denmark, an amazing mead company for two reasons. One, they are all of their recipes are from the 1700s. So that's really cool. They're all ancient recipes. If you pour this out into a glass, it's cloudy. It's not a clear mead. This one is their Viking blood, and it is hibiscus and ginger. So it's a delicious mead. The second thing they're really awesome for, though, they come in these ceramic bottles. Like, you don't throw these bottles away. You keep these because they're cool. They have these little Nordic runes inscribed on the top. It's really hard to tell on their black Viking blood one. They have about 5 flavors, I think. This one's their Vikingeers mead, which is a hops mead. This is the it's a white bottle with the, you can see the runes a little bit better there. Really cool bottles. Unfortunately, because they're international, they don't ship, but you can find those. That's probably the most popular mead you can get commercially. Total Wine, I think, has all the flavors if you're close to a Total Wine, and those are popping up everywhere, so I encourage you, check out their meads. But really awesome bottles. You don't throw those bottles away. Actually, when I was first doing this setup many years ago, like, this is the second variation of this shelf. I had one, and I had a bottle on top of it, and I didn't anchor it well, and the thing fell, and luckily everything survived except for my original Viking Split bottle. Shattered like crazy. It broke my heart. It was empty, but it broke my heart. World Market, yep. I've heard, you're the second person I've heard that from. They probably sell it at bigger liquor stores where you're from. I live in a pretty small town, and we have about 8 liquor stores. I'm in Maryland, so the laws here are different. 2 of them carry meads at all times. Like several different brands of mead even. Here, though, like, you can't sell beer or wine in anywhere outside of a liquor store in Maryland. So almost every other state you could go to like a 7-Eleven and you can get beers at least and wines, but you can't do that here. So you have to go to a liquor store if you're looking for anything, including beer. So our liquor store is a little bit bigger than most because of that reason. But Total Wines are in a lot of the states now, and they definitely have all the meads you can get. Mead and beer, so massive differences. They're made completely different. So mead is actually much closer to wine. It's made in a very similar fashion as wine, except we use honey for the fermentation process instead of grapes or other fruits. However, there's every combination in between. I've made lots of hybrids over my tenureship, and fruit is a very common thing to add to your mead. The definition, and again, disclaimer, because nobody cares except for the Facebook trolls, 51% of the sugar source has to be honey for it to be a mead. If it's 50% and 50% another fruit, it's considered a wine, not a mead. So, whatever. Don't let anybody tell you what to do, though. They're all Facebook trolls. And it's just the mead groups. Like, I'm part of a couple other groups for some other stuff, some other hobbies, and it's awesome. Like, I've been there for years. It's pleasant. I love it, but for whatever, the meat guys are just grumpy old dudes. I don't know why. I don't know why. Never drank mead before. Now is your time. Join the Discord. It's in my description. There is a commercial mead channel over there that has lots of meads in it. My favorite, and this is, I say this a lot. This is from a winery called Linganore Winery. It's here in Maryland. They make great wines. If you like wines, they make great wines. They make one mead, this one, Medieval Mead. They supply our Maryland Renaissance Festival with this every year. So if you've ever been to the Maryland Renaissance Festival, this is the mead you drink there. This is like $15 a bottle, and they ship across the United States. You have to pay shipping, and depending where you live, it's going to be a little bit more, but you cannot go wrong. This is a semi-sweet to sweet mead. It's just a honey mead. Very traditional, fantastic mead. You cannot go wrong with it. Can't go wrong with it. And it's delicious. So check out their website, linganorewinecellars.com. I am not affiliated. I did some reviews on some of their stuff, and they never even acknowledged me. I don't care, because I like their stuff. But they're a great winery, like I said. And I don't get any kickback, don't worry. And it's cheap anyway. Yeah, so what you're probably talking about, if you're getting lots of headaches from wine, because I'm the same way, it's the sweetness, it's the sugar content. I prefer dry meads for that reason. I like to like sip on some sweeter stuff, or if I'm like making stuff for larger crowds. I know like semi-sweet is typically where I aim because that kind of hits both genres. I prefer dry stuff for that reason because it'll give me a headache if I don't. But honey obviously is a very different type of sugar than something like the fructose that you find in grapes. So I would definitely suggest chugging a bottle of mead and seeing if you get a headache the next day. Responsibly. Don't drive anywhere afterwards. Make sure you got your pajamas on already. Chug a bottle of mead and see if you get a headache. I typically, on Wednesdays, I go live right here. Come back this coming Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Am drinking bourbon when I'm on those lives because I'm making mead in some fashion. Those Wednesday lives, I'm doing one of 3 steps, but it's all of the mead making process. I'm either starting a brand new batch, racking a batch, or bottling a batch every single Wednesday. So come back. Those are a lot of fun. It's literally like a calendar event for me now because it's like the highlight of my week. I'm glad it was accident. I didn't do it on purpose. I'm glad it was Wednesdays that I do it because it's like right in the middle of the week. It's when you're down, you're like, oh, it's been a long week already and we still have half of it to go. Not me. I love Wednesdays because of that reason. So definitely jump in. And there's another benefit. Those Wednesday lives, all of those batches are chosen by TikTok subscribers. Sorry, YouTube, not there yet. But if you subscribe to my channel, it's a couple bucks a month. Not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna be transparent. But it helps put a little dent into what I do. And I pick those batches from comments and subscriber only posts. And then same thing, I ship them a bottle of it after it's done. So I give them credit for it, whoever picks it, or whoever suggests the most awesome mead batch ever. I pick one, and then I make it, and then I tag them in it so they get all the credit for it, and then I ship them a bottle of it when it's all done. So it's my small thanks to say thank you for supporting what I do. So there's actually 2 ways to get mead, but both of them are on TikTok. You got to follow me on TikTok too. So I can, I do have some plans to expand the YouTube stuff later, but I'm not there yet. Woo. It's a lot of fun. It's a great community as well. And it's vast. It's very vast. I found myself in the TikTok side of it and have been adopted into an amazing community there. But it's vast. Like, I'm meeting a ton of people. I met my good buddy Scott. I drove up to Michigan, and we went to the Michigan Renaissance Festival and met like a whole nother inner circle. It's been an absolute pleasure and an awesome ride so far. I can't wait to see where it goes. That's not a fair question. Mead or bourbon? I like them both. I make mead as a hobby, but I love me some bourbon. Like the problem is you can't get mead in very many places. I obviously make a tremendous amount of it. If I'm at home, I'll have a glass of mead. But if I'm out or I'm at my friends or whatever, I'm typically, especially if I'm going to like a bar, I'm usually sipping on like an old fashioned. If it's a cheap bar, if it's one of those fancy bars, probably a glass of wine, cheap wine. I'm a cheap guy. Yeah, bananas are hamburger. That's actually a good analogy. They're just not the same. They're both delicious in different ways. It is the oldest alcoholic beverage in the world by far, way older than beer and wine. So it's the OG alcohol. The OG alcohol. Good morning. If you're just jumping in, I've been in a deep conversation for a while. Welcome to the Old God's Meadery, where I make mead. Every single week, I make a brand new batch of it. I don't replicate recipes, and I don't miss Saturdays. Every single Saturday is a brand new batch that's inspired by something different. So come back every single Saturday. Yesterday, I made an orange mead. Very simplistic. You can make this at home. It's so easy to do. Inspired by Leif Erikson, the Norse explorer, or Viking explorer, if it makes more sense that way, that founded, so the first European to step foot on the United States. Well, it was technically Canada, but North America. Yeah. And he didn't slaughter all the natives. Just saying. If you're a political person, I'm not. But I'm just saying the Scandinavian culture was the first culture to hate the English. Right? Just saying. And then by the end of it, everybody hated them. I think that the Norse were ahead of the curve. That's all. In many ways. But good morning anyway. Welcome to the Old God's Meeting. If you go into my profile, there should be, I'm trying to remember the YouTube side of it. I have like a link tree, and if you go into my link tree, it should be the very top thing on there. Watching from Australia. That's really cool. Thank you for being here. How would you describe the basic taste of this is my traditional mead here. So I'll give you the exact recipe. Write it down. 1 gallon water, 3 pounds of honey, 2.5 grams of yeast, and 2 grams of yeast nutrient. That's it. You don't even really need the nutrient. That just kind of helps the process. I don't have a yeast packet near me. But if you get a yeast packet, the typical stuff that we use in the mead community is wine yeast. There's many different strands of it. All of them come out with different flavors. They come in little packets. Those packets are about 5 grams. So if you use about half that packet, it's also not going to hurt you to just dump the whole packet in. A lot of people do that because they're pretty cheap and it's tedious to measure stuff. I don't measure stuff. I shake it until it's about half. The yeast reproduces, so you'll get enough of it there. And it'll keep reproducing until it hits its alcohol tolerance. So I'll leave it at that. If you put in 10 packs, you're going to taste the yeast. But if you put in 1 full pack, nobody's going to know. Anyway, I got off on a tangent. It largely depends on your yeast strand. This one that I made is with a strand called EC1118. That's the strand of yeast, which is actually like a champagne yeast. It's a dry yeast. So this ferments really fast, eats tons of sugars, reproduces really fast. The alcohol tolerance is 18%. So it can get up to that high until it can't reproduce anymore. So this is a dry mead because of that reason. The yeast that I'm using, for this one, I use D47, which is a semi-sweet yeast strand. That one tops out at about 13%, but a vast majority of the meads end up a little bit lower than that. So it's a little bit sweeter, way more dry. So that's really what determines a lot of your flavoring. You can adjust your actual honey content too. You can put in 4 pounds per gallon. You can do 2 pounds per gallon. That's usually the range between 2 and 4. I do right in the middle, 3. But a very typical one was going to be sweet. It's going to be a really strong honey taste. You're still going to get a good alcohol, a little burn from it because it's much higher than a beer. But it's not high as a liquor. Yeah, yeast makes a big difference. I learned that after I had been making mead for a long time. It's actually and some of this is subjective, so take my opinion for what it is. Um, it's the biggest determination of the actual outcome, the flavor outcome that you're going to get. Mm-mm. So I thought about doing orange juice with this one when I was starting to write this one down and plate it. Um, I'm a little afraid of the refrigeration side of that. It's not that I haven't done crazy stuff before, but that's what I was worried about this one. So I did actual oranges and water instead. But I used a lot. I used 7 oranges, and I included the peels because, you know, there's a lot of flavor in that zest as well. So I don't think you would need to do oranges. Like if you're trying to replicate like orange flavor, you don't need to do an orange juice. Now I will say, like I've done like pineapple, which also theoretically should be refrigerated once it's opened, and it came out fine. So I don't know. I've never tried it. Am I gonna try it? Probably eventually. Yeah, anytime. YouTube's a little bit harder to like send messages and stuff, but like if you join my TikTok, I answer all of those messages there. Shoot me a direct message. I am more than happy to help anywhere I can. Also, join the Discord. There's a group of awesome mead makers there that are always fun to help. And Scott does a really great job making sure that place stays safe. Just because he has such a distaste for that Facebook community too. Well, he does because I have such a distaste for it. But it's everybody's nice over there. You won't encounter anybody like being a jerk over there. So you can ask. He wants to make sure that people are okay walking into this community for the first time. So if you ask a very simplistic question like, what is yeast? Or I don't understand, or can you help me like learn something? Everybody there is so genuinely amazing on how they approach that stuff and understanding the perspective of what it's like to first start things out. So unlike the Facebook community, if you go over there and they're like, you're stupid, why don't you just Google it? Like, whatever. That doesn't make people want to be your friend. I don't know if they know that or not. Anyway, I might have missed a question because now I'm bouncing all over the place. Hello, good morning. Yeah, you definitely. Well, I was lucky enough to fall into be adopted by the community that I have founded, and I've met some real world amazing friends out of it too, which is really cool. I'm here for mead. The Vikings in war. Mm-mm-mm. I swear. Although, I sent Scott a text. I went to the Renaissance Festival with him a few weeks ago in Michigan. And I have a Renaissance outfit, but it's more of a costume, right? Like, I didn't put a lot of money into it. He's very serious. He is very serious. He's got the get-up. All of his friends also have the get-up, so I was a little underdressed. I was dressed, but I was underdressed. So I texted him and I was like, dude, we're gonna go to the Maryland Renaissance Festival next year. So I was like, I want to start kind of piecing stuff together because it's a lot. It's a lot. And he was like, well, the first thing you need to do, he's very wise. First thing you need to do, come up with like the character you want to be, the persona you want to give off. That's where you should start your idea and then grow off of that. So I was like, oh, that's great. And I put some thought into it and I texted him back and I was like, some kind of like Viking brewing like thing, right? Like, and he immediately and correctly was like, Viking was a profession, right? It wasn't like a people. And I'm like, you knew what I meant, dude. Like, we talk all the time. Viking age is what I meant to say. I thought he would put the pieces together, but he was a little judgy. So, more to come. But, yeah, I'm gathering some stuff. I have some great ideas. Some of the stuff I'm going to have to fabricate myself. But I'm going to be ready for the Renaissance Festival next year. I'm going to show you guys my outfit, though, as soon as I piece it together. It'll be this year sometime. And if you want, we are going to be throwing a Mead Fest next year, probably in September. at the Maryland Renaissance Festival. More to come. Scott and I are in the very early stages of planning it. I want to give you a heads up though, because the invitation is going to be open to everybody. We're going to probably get some kind of like campsite or some kind of gathering place pretty close to the Renaissance Festival. And we're going to just have lots of mead there. Lots of mead. We're going to encourage people to bring their mead. I plan on bringing lots. I took like, I think 60 bottles or so to Michigan with me. Like, I'm being serious. There's going to be lots of free mead there. So stay tuned. Very early stages of planning it, like I said. But if you're close to Maryland or you want to travel to Maryland, we're going to be doing a little mead fest. And we're going to be doing that every year is our plan. And touring Renaissance festivals that way. So we're going to hit, I know the dream schedule is to hit the Texas Renaissance Festival in 2026. So stay tuned. I don't know. That's too far out the plan yet, but stay tuned. I missed a lot of questions. I'm sorry. I got off on a tangent again. From Missouri. Oh, yeah. Aging a whiskey barrel. You cannot go wrong. You cannot go wrong. I've had something similar, and you're absolutely right. Yep. It can catch you off guard if it's delicious enough. The alcohol content, is usually upwards of 13-15%. So it'll catch you off guard for sure. Should I keep it a certain temperature? Absolutely, if you can. So obviously, people were making mead for millennias before we had air conditioning. So I'm not saying it's a necessary component, but the yeast strands all have temperature tolerances. So they have to stay in that range for them to produce effectively. And I can tell you, it does make a difference. I have a story. I was using EC1118. I had 4 batches going. They were all fermenting in buckets. That one only needs to ferment for about 2 weeks. Like, I usually left it for 3, but it's a very fast yeast, ferments really quickly. And I lost the air conditioning in this room. I have a separate air conditioning unit for this room, and it went down, and the temperature rose about 10 degrees-ish. It was in the summertime a few years back. And the mead stopped. Dead stopped. Stopped fermenting completely. And I was like, oh, shoot. I don't want anything crazy to, grow in it. So, we did the repairs and got it working again. And it took another day for the temperature to come back down. And then it picked up like it never left. It started fermenting again. Like it never stopped in the first place. So it does make a difference. The yeast was uncomfortable and it's like, I'm not working anymore. It's too hot in here. And it goes the other way too. If it gets too cold, the yeast will slow down. Actually, when I switched to this yeast strand, I had to change the temperature by 2 degrees in this room. Fun fact. Because it just moves a little bit faster at that temperature. A union break. So, depending on what yeast strain you use, but like I said, if you jump in the Discord, that yeast chart, you can look it up on Google too. Just type in wine yeast chart or something. It has all the common yeasts on there. It has their alcohol tolerances, so the expectation of range you'll fall in, the flavor palette, and also the temperature tolerance. So to tell you what degrees you need to stay in. And I've talked to some people that are from crazier parts, I think it was somebody in really far north Canada that was making mead and had to address that. He had to get a yeast strain that could produce in colder weather. My favorite is EC1118. I would say it's not everybody's favorite though. It produces a dry mead and higher alcohol content, lower sweetness is what that dry means, and that's just what I prefer. It gives me less headaches and more alcohol. But I'm currently using D47, so if you watch any of my current batches, I'm using that right now. I am going to switch back because, I like to make varieties of stuff anyway. So I am going to be switching back the next round. I think I have another probably 4 or 6 batches worth of yeast left of the D47, and then I'm switching back. Oh, Bochet. Oh, man. it is amongst my favorite styles of mead. So bochet is when you actually caramelize the honey. For those that don't know, first, and the limit of what you can do with that is like limitless. Um, so you can caramelize honey. You can do it for a few minutes. You can do it for like 45 minutes and get the honey really dark, and it produces a completely different like caramel flavor you can get out of the honey. It's fantastic, fantastic, and some beautiful colors. I don't think I have any near me right now to show. I don't, but awesome meads, really awesome meads. Oh, actually, that's not true. Hold on, I do. This is my s'mores mead. So this is chocolate caramelized honey, and I added in some marshmallow extract in the bottling process. S'mores mead. It tastes like s'mores. Really, really proud of that one. Really proud of that one. So we're asking what proof. I want to go over two things before I answer that question with an answer that you're not going to like. My main mission here is to make mead in the most simplistic fashion as I can. I really am interested in the actual experimentation side of mead making. That's why every single batch is different. I don't replicate recipes at all, ever. So I want to get people involved and interested in this amazing hobby and community. So I go out of my way to make mead as simplistic as I can. That means, for me, I don't do a lot of the stuff that I would do on the side if I'm making batches like for my friends or family. And I don't do a lot of the stuff you see some of the other creators here make. I don't back sweeten at all. Back sweetening is when you add in another sugar source or so after the fermentation process. I don't cold crash, which is where you actually cool the mead so the fermentation process stops more rapidly and clarifies faster. I don't add any chemicals or agents. There are a few different things you can use or drop in your mead that speed things up and slow things down. I don't do any of that. I just use time. I also do not use my hydrometer. I don't check for alcohol content at all, ever, with a disclosure. The reason being is it's a really tedious process. It takes a little while to get used to. You have to master it. It's a hydrometer. I'll show it to you. This is a hydrometer. The basic, I'll show you the run through real quick. You, hello, good morning. You fill this up with the mead before you add your yeast in. So the liquid, after you've mixed everything, you drop in this very delicate hydrometer. You spin it around and then you wait, because you have to wait for all the bubbles to drop off of it and make sure that there's no bubbles attached to it at all. Then you spin it around again, make sure there's no bubbles on it. You record that number that's on there. And then you do that again when you're about to transfer the mead. You put those two numbers into an equation and it'll give you your alcohol content. I do it on the side sometimes to see where the yeast range is and to make sure that I'm still in range. That's the only time I do it, and I don't make videos about it. It's a frustrating process for me. I don't enjoy it, and I'm not passionate about caring about it. So I hope that doesn't upset you. But I don't check my alcohol content ever. Every single batch you see here, I have no idea. I can tell you the range it's in. D47 is running about 13% out of all of the batches that I've tested on the side. Probably between 10 and 13%. Before that, the EC1118 was running about 15%, but I saw as high as 18% on several batches, and I saw one that hit 20, which is above its actual range. So it might have been me recording things wrong. I don't know. Because that's really high. That's really high for an alcohol content. Been busy, Nicholas. That's okay. You're here now. I will say a vast majority of mead makers out there, though, check their alcohol content. Obviously, my good buddy Dennis, who is a mentor of mine. If you don't follow Dennis, I don't think he's here this morning, but he's a really awesome mead maker that just jumped in that hobby more recently and is making some amazing stuff. He makes some videos about using the hydrometer. Scott, obviously, another mentor of mine. So, yeah, 20 is super high, so it was likely my bad somewhere. which is another reason that frustrates me because sometimes you get off the wall numbers and you're like, wait a minute, that can't be right. I must have screwed something up, and then there's nothing you can do about it. No, you can't go back. So yeah, I know that. Like, I think that there was one of the strands that like ran up to 18%, like typically, and like, mm, there's a lot of variables. A lot of variables. Temperature being one of them, of course. Everything you add in there. And another reason, and this is more of a minor reason for me. I'm on a pretty tight schedule with mead making, obviously. To produce a batch every single Saturday means I have to be really organized and I have to keep the pipeline going. So not only does it speed things up a little bit, but like if I'm getting numbers, one of the reasons to check your alcohol content outside of just knowing is to know when the fermentation process stops. If you were going to do mead in a very traditional way, you would check it right before you add the yeast. You would check it again when it's done fermenting, when you think it's done fermenting. You would seal everything back up, and then you would check it again in a few days. If numbers 2 and 3 match, it's done fermenting. If they don't, you would let it sit longer and check it a fourth time and make sure that those numbers match. That's the proper way to do it. But you're talking about, I'm making gallon batches here. So pouring stuff in and out of that tube, I'm not messing with the potential contaminations. I'm not doing it. 60 degrees in Arizona is probably impossible. Liquor stores in Maryland. We have a few Total Wines here that sell it. I mean, in my town, the liquor stores in my town sell it. Also, if you're in Maryland, almost every liquor store carries Charm City Mead, which is they're a really cool meadery in Baltimore. The industrial side, not the side you see on the news. They're on the industrial side. Really cool meadery. They make some really awesome meads, but they're a little hippie-ish, right? They're a little hippie-ish. So some of their stuff's a little off the wall. They do a lot of like pretty, like herb flavors and hops flavors and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm sure the yeast loves that temperature. What's the ideal time frame? Again, that has a little bit to do with what yeast strain you're using. Like I said, the EC1118 is much faster than the D47. So, but I'll tell you the typical D47, which is the more popular of those two at least, you have to plan on fermenting for about a month. So I put everything in my 2-gallon fermenting bucket for about a month. It's usually 4 weeks ish because it takes 2 to 3 weeks ish for everything to ferment, and then I make sure I let it, because I don't use my hydrometer, I just give it some extra time. Then I transfer it into my 1-gallon glass carboy. So if you've seen any of my videos, I show exactly how I do that every single time. There it sits for about 3.5 to 5.5 months. That depends on where I am and how far ahead or behind I am behind the scenes, because I have a lot of batches going simultaneously. So I typically I don't make a batch every week. So sometimes I try to, but I typically don't. So I'll do 2 or 3 batches at a time behind the scenes. So that range is usually between 4 and 6 months ish. So from beginning to end, you're talking about 4 to 6 months ish is the final answer. I mean, you'll like mead if you like wine. I think you'll think it's better. I think you'll think it's better. Anyway. anyways, it's almost 8 o'clock. I'm gonna start wrapping stuff up. It's been so much fun this morning, though. I plan on going for like 30 minutes, and we've been here an hour. I just had to tell TikTok that I'm still alive. That's how long I've been here. It tastes like, excuse me. I mean, it's fermented honey, so you get a really great strong honey taste from the actual honey. A good mead, I think, is semi-sweet, so you'll still get a pretty good punch of alcohol as well. It's usually twice as much or more alcohol content as like an ale. So, have I tried anything pumpkin? Yes. Not this year though. I did a pumpkin pie mead. Oh, I actually think I might have one of them near me. No, I don't. I have the apple pie. I did a pumpkin pie mead. I've done like a pumpkin spiced mead, which they were relatively similar. But yeah, I've done a few different pumpkins. With pumpkin purees where I've had the most success. It's kind of gross. It's kind of gross, but it works. It works. Yeah. I think that's all I have. Yes, for it to be a mead, it has to be made with honey as the main fermentation sugar source. Yeah, the pumpkin ones you might have to jump over to YouTube. I have a playlist, a playlist on YouTube that has all of my meads archived on it. I still have to go and clean up some of the older stuff on it, but it has all the meads there. And then everything I've done this year, because I realized that, it's smarter to do that, are in playlists in both areas. So YouTube has this year's playlists, and so does TikTok. So anyway, yeah. Excuse me. I'm losing my voice today. It's gonna happen. It's so early in the morning. I was recording a bunch of videos and I noticed it before I started this live, and now I've been talking for an hour straight. So, yeah. I will see you Wednesday, though. Come back Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will already be here having a glass of bourbon, and we will be transferring some mead. I'll tell you more about that tomorrow. So I will be racking a mead. So I'll be transferring it from a 2-gallon fermenting bucket to a 1-gallon glass carboy live. You'll get to see exactly how I do it. Nice and easy. So if you're intimidated by part of the process, I think that's probably the most difficult part of the process, and I'm going to show you how easy you can do it. So you can't be intimidated anymore. And then you can start your own batches. And then, yeah, this coming Saturday, I'm not going to tell anybody till tomorrow, except for you guys right now. It's another Norse batch of mead. So come back. I'll show you, or I'll tell you a little bit about it tomorrow. And then lastly, please, well, two things lastly. Go back and watch yesterday's videos if you didn't see it. It's my orange mead I made in honor of Leif Erikson. Leif Erikson Day is this Wednesday. So make sure you have a little feast with your loved ones. Give a thanks to Leif Erikson for all he did, including, probably changed the course of history, and he doesn't get credit for it. So go back and watch that orange mead. It's very simplistic, delicious mead you can make at home. And then lastly, join the Discord. There's a link up in my link tree, very top thing on there. It's a safe place and a plethora of mead information that my good buddy Scott runs. And yeah, lots of mead ideas in one spot. So I will see you guys Wednesday. Make sure to come back. Put your pajamas on first. Have a glass of cocktail with me. And you can watch me rack some mead. So I'll see you guys all real soon. Thank you so much for letting me be here. Lots of great mead content shoved in between now and then. So make sure and like everything. Comment on everything. Share it if you're really awesome. I'll see you Wednesday. Skål! Have an amazing, amazing Sunday.